Wow. This episode of Cell TV, man, this is one the world needs to hear. Believe me. How many people do you know that have Botox? For years, I've been telling people, warning, this is a neurotoxin. And I'm seeing clients with autoimmune after Botox. Oh, well, now it's becoming a new epidemic. Oh, we dig in to the implants, and yes, they all leak, and what's happening about it. We talk about the identity shift that needs to take place. But this show talks about a lot of other B's, which she calls them, that you need to know about and be aware of. And I'll tell you, this is going to be one show. Please share this, because this is a show that needs to be out there in today's time. Check it out.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cellular Healing TV. I'm Ashley Smith, and today we welcome the lovely Diane Kazer, who is the host of the upcoming Non-Toxic Beauty Summit, which Dr. Pompa has participated in. And Diane's here to discuss how to clean it all up, from identifying key root causes of beauty blockers, energy drainers, and vitality shorteners, to touching on breast implants, Botox, and what she discovered when she researched the myriad of toxins found in our common beauty routines. So let's get started and welcome Diane Kazer and, of course, Dr. Pompa to the show. Welcome, both of you.
Thanks, Ashley. Hi, Pompa.
Yeah, I love it. I love when people call me Pompa. That's endearing to me. So
I was like, wait, well, how's he going to feel about that?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Listen, Diane, with that summit, when people see it, they're going to be just absolutely, they're going to want to share it with everyone they know, because this is such a big deal. People are being poisoned by beauty, unfortunately. And I recalled my interview, and I just remember how important it is for people to hear mine, but you have interviewed some amazing experts. You and I literally had to stop our conversation before we started this conversation, because we were so passionate about like how unbelievable important this is. We're talking about people getting sick from breast implants, right? And we have the breast explant people literally backed up for a year, because that's how much, this is impacting people's lives. And you and I got passionate about Botox. We're going to talk about all that. So we're going to hit on all of them. You have your B's you're going to talk about, all these hidden sources of beauty that people are being affected by. Men, people need to hear this and share this show. And the summit, which we're going to keep putting up for people to view and get. So thank you for doing that summit, because that is putting like all of this information in one place, which really makes a difference. So thank you. And thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And I truly feel like this is my honor. As you say, pain's a purpose. And this purpose has me pulling me towards something more than I've ever felt in my life, because I almost died from all of my attempts to be beautiful artificially.
Yeah. And if you pulled up the picture, I mean, obviously you're beautiful now. I think more beautiful than you were when you were moving outside of your identity, which we'll talk about. But go ahead and tell that story. I mean, you just briefly jumped into it there, but tell the story. I mean, you are now on the other side of the purpose side, sharing with women, your story to help move them outside of this, horrible place where they are stuck in being poisoned.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would say, to reference I call it the 8 B's, and it really starts with the bully within. And this bully within is a culmination of these thoughts that I need this thing outside of me to be beautiful, or, the once-itis, like once I get this procedure, then maybe I'll be lovable. Then I'll get the thing, like the job or the partner or the attention or the likes or the follows. And I call that, and this is not something you will find on a stool test, but I call that the perfectionism parasite. And it's not how we were born. It's not how I was born. Of course, we were born up until the age of 6 playing with toys and maybe rainbow brights or things with rainbows. And then all of a sudden Barbie comes in the picture. We start playing with Barbie at the age of 6. It's funny, recently I was working with my coach on this, and I have many coaches because I love growing physically, emotionally, spiritually. And I recall the time when I was like 7 years old, and we were trying to get to the root of where this began within myself, where I began to cheat on myself, betray my soul by physically altering my body with these artificial chemicals that nearly killed me. And it was when I was playing with a Barbie and I was pulling her limbs off and I was smashing her face. It sounds so morbid, but I think my younger self knew better. Like at some point in 30 years or 20 years, there was going to be parts of me that were going to cut myself open and install breast implants at the age of 30 so that I could win on a bikini stage. When the irony behind that is that I was winning first place in all of my shows. Then I went to compete, and the show that I had my breast implants was when I got almost dead last. And in the process of killing myself to be beautiful, like drop dead gorgeous, that kind of redefines it. And then living in Orange County, California, there's all this pressure of like, oh, actually, I wouldn't say it's pressure. It's more like normalizing Botox. Like, oh, we have Botox parties and we drink champagne and just inject this stuff in our face. The number one most toxic substance known to man. Did I know that then? No.
But let me tell you something right now. My viewers and followers are very healthy people, but I bet you that's the first they heard that. And I've been talking about that, right? I said this on our show. I said, I feel like I'm where I was with breast implants now with Botox, meaning I was like shocking people, like breast implants are bad for you. Breast implants, that was 5 years ago conversation. And now, people are waking up to it. Still not the masses. I mean, that's still a new message for many. But here I am with Botox going, oh yeah, Botox is bad, right? It's like, what do you mean? Everyone I know is getting it. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make it not good.
Right.
I told you, going into the show, I'm seeing all these clients with unexplainable illnesses, many of which Botox was their kick that started autoimmune. So newsflash, Botox affects everybody. Oh, another newsflash, it doesn't just stay local. It ends up a certain portion going systemic, which it is a neurotoxin. That's how it works.
Neuro.
Yeah, I know. So anyways, I sorry to interrupt you, but I have
it's okay.
Some people are watching this going, wait, I'm stuck on Botox is bad, right? So.
I have some studies on that too, Dr. Pompa. And before I read these, what I want everybody to hear in this interview is that just like what you said, all of my friends are getting it and the doctors are injecting it and the med spa owners or whoever the injectors are saying, even now, even like a month ago when I went in to get, PRP, which is a really great way to do proactive aging using your own body's wisdom.
That's what I've done, in my
yeah. Ooh, that's your secret? It's my secret too, because my breast implants and Botox aged me. So you want aging? Do the things that make you feel artificially beautiful.
Yeah. My sickness aged me, right? I mean, I was, very ahead of that. And, I think everything, I do has impacted my cellular age. Actually, it was 11 years ahead of my actual age, my cellular age, my testing. Now I'm much younger at my cellular age. So it wasn't just one thing, but
and it starts with detox, and it starts with your first R, which is to remove, which is to stop adding more toxins to your body. So, with Botox, it's, if we hear that everybody else is doing it, it must be tested, it must be fine. They haven't done, just like breast implants, they have not done long-term studies on these things. In fact, when there was a long-term study done in over 4 years with 16 people in it, and this is not just about Botox, it's about like questioning what else has not been tested for safety that we're using on, in, and around our bodies that are extremely toxic. So Botox is just one of them, and it happens to be one of the worst. What they found in a group of 16 people, and this is back in 2016, Dr. Pompa, so 4 years ago, they found, this is when the study came out, is that they found that 75% of the patients that they had in that study had some kind of an autoimmune marker or clinical symptom that was suggestive of immune system activation at some point in the course of their Botox illness. They also found, as far as infections, they found that 1/3 of the patients had an increased rate of infections, which are most common, like the upper respiratory infections, pneumonia, urinary tract infections. And here we are at the time we're recording this, and it's such an odd time to be talking about beauty when we're looking at like a global pandemic, which is this virus. People are asking the question of, how do I boost my immune system? And I'm like, wait, we are not asking the most important question. What is blocking our immune system?
That's right.
And if we're putting these extremely toxic things on, in, and around our body, our immune system is distracted over here trying to push out breast implants because they're foreign invaders with 30+ toxins in them that have never been tested for long-term safety, causing a lot of autoimmune disease in a lot of patients. Then you're injecting a daily dose of Botox, which is 10 to 20 amounts higher if you're doing it for medical purposes versus cosmetic. And we're injecting these, and our body has to distract itself to fight that out of the body. So this is what's distracting our immune system from fighting a virus that we're exposed to.
Absolutely. There is no doubt. There's nothing more powerful than removing what's causing your body not to heal, not to have a perfect immune system, etc. Because the body, God designed our bodies for that. It's what we're doing or have done to interfere with it. Look, let's go back to this identity thing, because I think we could lose people right there, right? Because I think when you, I'm sure, and I'll let you speak to this, because you had to identify, let me even say it this way. Women are willing to stop or get something removed, whether it's breasts or stop doing Botox, if they get sick. When they get sick enough that they say, okay, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm just, I don't care about that anymore. Okay, that's a driving factor. And I deal with people once they get to that point. But let's talk to the 98%
right.
that aren't to that point yet. They might have fatigue, they might have brain fog, they might have some symptoms, but they're not driving, they're not sick enough where they don't care anymore. So then we have to look at what caused them to put them in the first place. And isn't that an identity conversation? Meaning, we can lose people right there, because again, it's this false identity that you start creating. You kind of started referencing that, but dig a little deeper there.
Yes, I'd love to. And this is, there's two different categories that are causing us illness today of all kinds. I mean, the root cause of disease, there's multiple hundreds of diseases out there, but the root that are inside of the tree that is you, I call my program Cleanse, Heal, Ignite. It's your chi of life. It's the life force energy that flows through you. And what disrupts it are two common things. It's toxic chemicals and toxic stories and beliefs that we carry about ourselves. We carry sick thoughts inside of our mind that says, like you said, there's this extreme pressure and conformity to fit in. And if we're not doing that, there's a primal urge to fit in a tribe. And there's this primal urge to conform and be compliant that begins as a child. And if we go outside of this cage of what's normal, of the mold, we literally get kicked out of our family. We get kicked out of a tribe. So there's a primal inside of our brain, inside of our whole, HPA, HPT axis, inside of all of the construct of our thoughts is, I need to belong, to be seen, to be loved, to be heard, to be felt, to be honored, to be connected to. And we look at Instagram as like, look no further than Instagram, which I was a bikini competitor 10 years ago. And this was a rare thing 10 years ago. And now essentially Instagram is like bikini competitor, everything. It's all about, building the biceps rather than building your inside character. So there is this, it's really, the ego does this thing where it's either fight, flight, freeze, or facade. And this is the facade to compete and compare. And we're doing this, we're taught this. It is a cultural thing that if the more shame that we feel about ourselves, the more that we become obedient consumers, thinking that we need to buy these things outside of ourselves. And this is what I found very interesting in my research, Dr. Pompa, over the last 2 years, really diving into the soil of our soul that brings so many women to doing this. I hear them say, I did not get breast implants because I was ashamed of my body. I got breast implants or whatever, insert beauty procedure, right? I did this thing because I wanted to feel better about myself.
Yeah, it's more about them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
And it's the same thing. The deepest root of shame is that I'm not enough as I am. So if I'm not enough as I am, then I need to buy these things outside of me to feel enough. It's the same thing.
What's the answer? So we don't, the answer is not creating different Barbie dolls, because someone's not going to line up with that Barbie doll. So we create fatter Barbie dolls, right? It's like girls going, oh, I can't keep up, right? What is the answer to create, to get, this identity like, hey, I love who I am, right? What's the answer?
Yeah, the answer is, I have a 12-step system that looks at and examines all of this. And it starts with the question, who did I first learn all of these things from? Who did I learn these beliefs from? Where did it come from? And how are they serving me? Because some people think that there's this inner bully within, and 90% of our thoughts that we think on a regular basis are, number one, the same on a treadmill, and number two, they are self-sabotaging and limiting. We literally become addicted to these thoughts and the chemistry that they create of the neurotransmitters inside of our brain. So we first have to understand that we're programmed. Okay, this is subconscious stuff. It's 95% of our thoughts. Where did that programming begin? We have to go back into childhood. There's something called the mother wound. And it's what so many of us are suffering from, that we weren't loved or accepted or appreciated enough. And once we can understand that that's the conditioning that we were raised in, then we can start to challenge these beliefs. And one thing that I say to all the ladies I work with on this transition is that you can't hate the experiences that shaped you. So another thing I say is, before you explant these implants, and if that's the case, if it's implants, or stop doing these other procedures, before you explant the implants, make sure that you also exercise the story and also appreciate the reason why you got them, because they taught you what sickness was so that you could discover what illness is.
Yeah, so you have to change the way you're framing it, because
Yes.
if you take that, then okay, these are gone now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now you still have this hatred for yourself, even maybe more, because
And guilt.
And guilt, and then guilt creates sickness. My gosh, someone just posted that today on my thing. But anyway, it was
Big time.
something just like guilt creates sickness. Here's why, type of thing, right? So,
yeah, there's something called I'm not sure if you've heard this before, power versus force. Have you heard of that, Dr. Pompa?
Yeah, maybe.
So it's a very, very, very powerful concept where our culture is living in this state of force. Like, the lowest vibrational frequencies of beliefs. And that's why I say, the bully belief system is where we need to really challenge, how am I thinking about myself? What are my thoughts about myself? Is we've got shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, and pride. Those are the lowest vibrational frequencies. And with that comes a force. We're forcing things. And that's a huge reason why we're so tired and our adrenals get burnt out. We've also found that low levels of serotonin equals depression, equals having this desire to shape my body because I'm depressed and I feel like, okay, maybe I can buy my happiness. So when we're living in these low vibrational states, feeling guilty of doing these things to our bodies and then passing it down to babies, because that's what's happening. The more sick and artificially injected a mother is with her artificial and toxic beauty routine, the more sick the baby is. The average baby now is born with 250 chemicals. So it's love. It sounds so cliche, but love is really the answer. It's the highest vibrational frequency. And there's no space for feelings of imperfection when we're in love. And it really also starts with our environment. You're the average, the top 5 people that you surround yourself with. So I also know a lot of women who won't adjust their beauty habits because their partner's like, no, you need to keep those breast implants. It's all in your mind.
Yeah, that is the key, because, if you surround yourself with women who are about all that, you're no way going to change your mindset. No way, right? I mean,
exactly.
You're stuck right there. I can show you your life. Show me the 5 people you hang around most. This is what was put on this is from my doctor group today. One of them posted, it said, the persistent surrender of negative feelings and attitudes means that the associated guilt is also being constantly relinquished. A consciousness that is not guilt-ridden tends to no longer attract disease. In the unconscious, guilt requires punishment and sickness with its attendant pain and suffering as the mind's most frequent means of relentlessness. So, I mean, it's like that we're basically creating it, is what it's saying when you have these guilts. So I think, again, to give people what you're saying is, if you just put yourself around different people, a different mindset, read different things, you have to flood your mind with a different input, a different programming, because somewhere in your programming at 5 years old, you were like, this is what I want to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
That perfect woman, or this perfect look, or whoever put that there, or whatever. Maybe people don't know, right?
Yeah. They're hypnotized.
Yeah, I mean,
this is a hypnosis.
Right, it is. So therefore you have to reprogram, right? The subconscious. And I mean, putting yourself around new people, different people, different groups. So do you help people with this? I mean, do you help people? Have you created a group around this? Because again, your group might not be your 5 people in your neighborhood, but you can join groups. So tell them where to go for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my program is called Cleanse Your Body, Heal Your Hormones, Ignite Your Life. It spells Chi. It also is, if you cleanse your trauma, then you can heal your thoughts and you can ignite your soul and your purpose. So a lot of, our first thing that we work on in my program is like, what are you here for? When you heal your body, then what? I'm not here to help you heal so that you can go work out an extra 2 hours a day so you could work on being more perfect. I'm here to help you carve out the space and time so that you can get out there and help the world. Because the number one thing I ask women is like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your goal? What are you doing here on this planet? And they're like, I want to help people. But we can't help other people when we fill our cup up last. And women put themselves fifth. It goes, we put kids first, and then our pets, and then our parents, and then our partners, like our relationship, and then us fifth. We cannot love others to the extent we have not loved ourselves. So the first thing we start working on is, what are your stories that you carry? What are your toxic beliefs that you believe about yourself? And a lot of women carry so much guilt, and they're just going to keep perpetuating that. If you carry these lower vibrational beliefs, like I just mentioned, the forceful beliefs, then number one, their Tao is broken down, their thyroid, their adrenals, and their ovaries. The hormones are off. They don't need more hormones. They need less emotional stress and these toxic stories. So we really go back in there and reprogram the subconscious. And a lot of people think, I can do this hypnotherapy, sure. But the way that we train them to go back in there is we teach them the tools to deprogram themselves, to reprogram themselves to a new biology of belief. And I know you love Bruce Lipton. And so that's a big part of what we do is Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, working with the ego, working with shame, and understanding that every single one of these stories and beliefs, and this is critical, Dr. Pompa, everything that we think has some kind of benefit to it. There's some kind of payoff. So there is a benefit and a payoff. And there are needs being met for being a victim to our own suffering. Because when we're a victim or when we're hurting, then we don't have to take responsibility. We can have someone else fix me, help me, love me. I can't do this myself. So we get attention, like a 5-year-old baby cries, it gets held. Now here we are 40, 50, 30 years old. We have some kind of a symptom. We get to, share, I'm hurting, I'm suffering. Someone will hold us. But we have to first hold ourselves and create that love within ourselves. And that's the power that I teach. And when I do that, every woman's entire life changes. They leave toxic relationships. They leave the toxins behind. They leave the things that they've installed in them that are toxic behind. They leave toxic jobs. They start a business. Everything changes because their beliefs have to change first. Then the choices go with that.
God, I love that because that is so true. People get stuck in a false identity and they're trapped and their life becomes toxic, right? And it's so hard. I can tell you as an expert in removing chemical toxins, from the body, from the cells, from the brain, toxic identity, toxic thoughts, keep them even from removing the chemicals, honestly. They'll purposely sabotage things just to stay where they are because that's so comfortable. It's self-serving.
And it's hard to hear.
It fulfilled the normal love, the attention that they got or whatever it is. So their identity becomes this, God forbid I leave it. So that's awesome. And I'm no expert there. You absolutely, that's why you're here. I want to pull the conversation back a little bit now and flip it. Normally we start with the physical toxins and the problems with these things, right? We kind of started with breast implants and Botox, but you can go through some other B's as well. But, let's kind of peel that down because we have a lot of viewers right now that, they need to hear that because they're still stuck on they're unhealthy,
Right.
So let's give them a little more facts.
Sure.
Let's talk about the breast implants because that was one of your big ones there.
Yeah.
So tell them why would someone consider getting these things out? My gosh, that's a surgery that's a big deal. I feel fine.
Oh, I know. And I can totally relate to that. Like, look, I'm not here to shame anybody or make them wrong because the journey of having my breast implants and doing the Botox and using all these beauty toxic products and really hiding my light, it brought me to my light by understanding what darkness was. So I am so grateful that I went through the journey of having the breast implants and doing the things that I did, because I got to learn that I was betraying my body, and then I was the only person that could save myself. Because what I was also experiencing is that I was attracting toxic people from those places. I was attracting artificial people from the space of artificial physical body. And now with my heart forward instead of silicone, I can now hug people and really improve and increase oxytocin, which is the love cuddle hormone inside of us, which is the opposite of cortisol. So, people are always like, well, how do I feel more love in my life? Well, boost your oxytocin. How do you do that? Remove the breast implants so you could actually hug people heart to heart and increase that touch hormone.
And by the way, stop right there too, because what you said is such a great point, meaning that, okay, you have the breast implants in, you're now attracting someone who isn't attracted to the real you. They're attracted to someone not you. So then it's actually affirming this false identity in you, because you know that he was only attracted to this and this isn't you. So now you're in a relationship it's phony, it's not right. Right. Yep. So that's damaging right there. So you're right. You're attracting the wrong people because you're attracting people to the wrong, not the real, not you, right? The wrong identity. So that's, oh gosh, that's.
Yeah. And it's the intersection of, three things. It's called the Vesica Pisces. And it's this energetic, it's like a vortex. When you have you've got your breasts, and then you have your heart. The connection of those three things is called the Vesica Pisces. And when it is elevated its most natural state, we are vibrating at our highest state too. So I feel spiritually, energetically, mentally, completely different than who I was a year ago, 2 months before I removed these things. And I was reading through some of the statistics, and I wrote an article, and my book comes out next month, called Killer Breasts, a compassionate step-by-step guide to overcoming breast implant illness. Because 3 years ago, when I first heard about breast implant illness, now it's 4, I was like, yeah, but my boobs are fine. Like, I'm looking at them. They look fine. They feel fine. There's nothing wrong with my breasts. But not leaking, but let me list all of these other symptoms I'm having that I thought, well, maybe it was like the air, the stuff that they're spraying in the air, or maybe it's got to be my toxic beauty products. Yeah, I'll change my makeup. I'll change my skincare routine. No, I'll go to the urgent care because I had golf ball size cysts underneath my armpits, and I had like chest acne and armpit acne. Oh, maybe it's the deodorant I'm using, or maybe it's the soap I'm using. I went through that whole checklist over 3 years. Did all the things. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on all the biohacks. I got a sauna, an infrared sauna at my house. I was cleaning up my oral care routine because one of the B's is bacterial overgrowth in the mouth of one of the 8 beauty blockers. So I went clean that up. I started doing lots of coffee enemas. I was doing hydrocolon therapy. I started doing oxygen therapy, ozone therapy, hyperbaric oxygen. I mean, you name it. I'm a biohacker and I'm a healthcare practitioner. So I'm like, okay, I can't figure this out. 2 rounds of prednisone later, I finally calmed it down. But that's a terrible prescription. It turns your immune system off. So with breast implants, our bodies, and the sickest women that I see are women who have a history of autoimmune disease or a family history of autoimmune disease. But the statistics are staggering, and I'm putting this in my book, but I also have an article on my website, DianeKazer.com, 33 reasons not to get breast implants your doctor didn't warn you about. So I can give you that article that I wrote. And it's all studies. It's all the research. They did a huge study that came out 2 years ago with over 100,000 women they surveyed because the FDA wasn't doing it. And they found huge statistics, up to 800% increased risk of autoimmune disease. Women are 3 to 4 times more likely to commit suicide or be on some sort of an antidepressant drug. And we're not sure if it was like the chicken, or the egg kind of theory, where the women are already depressed and anxious prior to getting breast implants, already suicidal prior to. But I got to be honest, Dr. Pompa, I had suicidal thoughts when I was going through this because it was so painful to wake up in the middle of the night, scratching my skin and my eyeballs and everything until I bled, and no relief, no antihistamines. In fact, antihistamines actually if you have Botox illness, it actually makes it worse. Getting into an infrared sauna after a Botox injection could make it worse because it could spread the poisons. Yeah. So there's so many things, and there's so many statistics that you guys can see in that article, but they eventually all rupture, bleed, or leak. And it was coming out in my stool, silicone coming out in my stool. I have videos over it. And that's when I was just like, okay, I'm done with this. I can't.
I want people to hear it. They all leak.
They all do.
You know, they all do. It's not like I'm not, so let's get that straight. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. And when that was all happening, it was like, I was by myself on this because, you and I are both pioneers of this, and there's not a lot of people talking about it. There's not a lot of people who want to face the truth and own their own beauty, their unique beauty as they are. And these things got so bad that when I started doing the research too, and I researched this and I interviewed my surgeon, it is clear that the body is rejecting these things because every single woman will create what's called a capsule around the implants. Mm-hmm. And inside, in between that implant and that capsule, that's where a lot of these bacteria can live. It's just like cavitations in the mouth. Mm-hmm. And you can take all the antibiotics in the world, but it will never be able to penetrate and get to and access these bacteria that are growing in between those two things. So a lot of women get acne, cystic acne, body acne, and they can't get free from it and all these pathogens in their gut because it's being perpetuated with a poor immune system. And this is what we're seeing, and the reason why so many people have an increased rate of autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, which is what I had, and Sjogren's disease, also a lot of extremity cold hands and feet, to the point of being annoying.
Yeah. So let's that's great. And we're going to post that article for sure. So people can, I think that'll answer a lot of questions that, we can't answer here, and they'll be able to dig into some of those studies. Botox, people are being told that it's local, right? It stays local, and it's only affecting the nerves right in that area. That's why it's so safe. So, these are the things so where's the lie there?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the black box warning, the label, and this is just like what we talk about with vaccinations. You look at the label, and what the label says is, and this is even done like 10 years ago, was put on the label. The warning says that it may, air quotes, may spread. But the logic in that is that your body is all connected. Everything's connected. So now what they're seeing is they're seeing neurological symptoms and an increased risk of anxiety and a lot of imbalances in mood. So a lot of these women are feeling extremely crazy. So the Botox tends to spread. So if it moves here, then it can, and it likely will. I just also did another podcast on my show on this whole topic, is that what they're finding is that, and there are 50,000 unreported cases of Botox illness, including children, teenagers, and I get emails all day long that report, please keep me anonymous because we're in a massive lawsuit with Allergan right now. It's a $4 billion industry. Botox is known to travel throughout the body. It paralyzes, if you think about the logic behind this, it paralyzes these muscles so that we can't frown. And then if we can't frown or make movements with our face, it can't register to our brain that we have feelings or emotions. That is dangerous. If our body can't perceive there's danger around us, then our brain can't activate neurotransmitters to signal the body to move out of danger. So what they're finding is that this stuff travels throughout the body, and just like it paralyzes muscles, it paralyzes the colon, paralyzes parts of your urinary tract, like your bladder, paralyzes the lungs, it paralyzes the heart. And so this is where we're seeing a lot of reported deaths of women dying. Oh, I don't know, she was never a smoker, but all of a sudden she got, her lung cancer. Why is that? We can't all the way pinpoint any one of these things to being the number one cause of whatever disease, but it's a culmination, just like this cup right here. You're toxic, filleth over. You're a kid and you start with 250, the average baby today, 250 chemicals. And these things are passing from mom down to baby, all these toxins. No wonder why we have so many, 1 in 6 couples can't get pregnant. It's because they're toxic. They don't need more synthetic hormones usually. So over time, it just adds up, and we start to see diseases and symptoms spill over from the culmination of all the toxins.
What about the fillers? Right now,
Yep.
I hate it personally. And again,
Yep.
This is me. I have a right to my opinion, but the lips, the whole thing, to me, this whole thing, this whole new look, and the fillers here, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I see that. And I immediately, I am turned off. I hate, and I don't mean this to insult anybody out there. It's not the point.
Same.
But I see something unnatural about it. My brain, and I can tell you, when I get together with a group of men, none of us likes this. Okay. So I've yet to find the man. I'm sure he exists, but because
Me too.
I love that look. I love that look. So you can tell this is being done for the woman competing with a woman.
Yes.
I assure you, it's not a woman trying to attract a man. Okay, so and I'm sure there's men doing these things too. There's plenty of men doing Botox, so I'm not just picking on women. But so the point is that, you know, we're creating these monster things happening. But what's going on with these fillers, and what are they made of, and why is that you know, causing autoimmune as well?
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess I'd first start with sure, we're doing it to compete against each other, but where do we get this concept of having big lips? And
I don't know, because maybe women with full lips look good on some people. You know, it's like, but that's some people.
It's sexual.
Like if I had big lips, I'd look ridiculous.
I know. Or like you got in a big fight with Mike Tyson, or stung by a bee. I think it looks like a lot of people just had like a
so maybe some
allergic.
Women, you know, bigger lips look good. That's them, right? It's like, I mean, I'm not talking big lips. I'm talking natural big lips, right? So not all big lips are attractive, is the point.
Right. I mean, if it looks right in your face and you were born that way, like look at Angelina Jolie. Okay, we're looking at the stars. So Angelina Jolie was this big movement of women who wanted to look like her, and she fits what's called this perfect golden ratio. There's something called the golden ratio, and this is how all plastic surgeons and med spa treatment. What it is there's ratios, and there's ratios of distance between the eyes and the eyebrows and the lips and the nose and the size of things. And this is also what people define as like the most beautiful features. It's also the intelligence and the wisdom of what is beautiful and proportionate in nature. So this is how we're all starting to want to look the same, because we're taught that this is what is beautiful. And when you look at like the big lips, it's unfortunate, but we're starting to look at like rap songs from a long time ago and the sexualization of body parts, right?
Yeah.
So think about lips. You know, that's what I'll say about that. And so, yes, you're totally right, Dr. Pompa. When I started this movement, I had lots of men reaching out to me going, y'all are crazy. I don't know what y'all are thinking. We don't care about this stuff. You look weird. And again, I'm not judging anybody, but it does look not normal.
The big, huge bodybuilder guys taking off the
dress. That too.
women go like, we don't even like that. Like
exactly.
Doing, right? It's like, you know, the men are just like getting bigger and they're like, you know, they like the skinny guy that just looks like this, right? It's like,
it's just a one gigantic body dysmorphic, culturally driven, hypnotized state that many people are in. And the more that you have lost sight of your gifts, the more that women or anybody is wanting to shape it on the outside because they want to love what they see in the mirror, because it's kind of like a narcissistic approach. Like I'm empty inside. I can't love myself. So I need to buy my love. And to answer your question about the chemicals that are in these things, there's 3 different kinds of fillers, or I would say hyaluronic acid is one type of filler. And so you might hear one person say like, oh yeah, get some hyaluronic acid injectables. Like it's natural. Well, sort of, it's a bacteria, but there's 3 different types. There's animal, there's plant, and then there's bacteria that's made in a lab. I personally don't think any of them are safe, but I do have some women who I've interviewed for the summit and also in my little mini programs and courses that they use the least toxic. And so I trust them, but I still won't use the injectables. And a lot of them come from animal parts like bovine. They come from the coos of chickens and roosters. You know, that's where a lot of these fillers come from. Someone like myself who has a history of autoimmune disease, I am not going to play with fire anymore. I do not want.
Yeah, that would be bad, because the body knows when it's not a natural thing, truly.
It does. And I would rather set fire to my goal and my intentions and my purpose than set fire to my physical body. I've learned that lesson. So there's, even just recently I was in Mexico and they're like, oh, do you want to do PRP with your face? We have got some bovine things that we're going to add to it. And I'm going, okay, where is that sourced? Can you give me the label? Can you tell me where it came from? What's in it? I just don't trust it. And I've also seen so many women injectable injured, where they have like their eyes are drooping, or like they've got pockets where they've injected right here underneath their eyes and they're poofing and it looks like they have a kidney disorder. It looks like they're, water retained. So I don't believe that any of them are safe. I don't want to play with Mother Nature. I think there's ways that you can boost collagen. We talk about this in the summit as well. Like vitamin C is a major collagen booster. We also have to be very, very careful about our sources of collagen, where we get that too. N-acetylcysteine, glutathione, doing it the natural way. And why not do things that are going to boost your immunity, boost your vitality, boost your energy, and as a side effect and an optimal result, boost your beauty. We're taking care of it all at one time instead of artificially draining your body by putting toxins in the body to artificially and temporarily make you beautiful, of which you need to continue to inject more and more and more. And before you know it, you're spending $3,000 to $10,000 a year on maintaining these things, because the moment you stop injecting is the moment your face starts drooping. It's insanity.
Yeah, it looks worse. The Botox thing, right? What happens is that it's basically paralyzing the nerves, and they're getting more and more damage to the point where literally the face anymore doesn't hold up. So you have this new thing, and then they have to use fillers because they can't hold up. This is what's happening.
It's so true.
Yes, literally their faces are, needing to be held up. And so now they're victim to holding up the face because everything's in a state of droop. Oh man,
insanity.
It's
scary.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like if you really, and here's what I'll say, because until I can get into a woman's mind and help her get into her own body to reprogram the way she thinks and believes about herself, there are bridges, right? So we can do things along the way that, like, look, if you're older and you absolutely can't stand looking at your face, go get a facelift.
Yeah.
At least stop injecting poisons into you. If you don't like your, you can do things like that.
Yeah.
So there are things that you can do that are less toxic. So I'm not about like just saying, we'll just stop doing the thing, because we have to really reprogram the way you think too before we can get to that level.
Yeah, no, exactly. At least stop the madness.
Yes.
There's a consequence to this, and it's great. But, we started the conversation about, being comfortable with yourself, understanding your true identity, attracting people to you that are attracted to you. Trust me. There is somebody that loves you and is attracted exactly the way you are. Isn't that been proven again and again and again?
Yes.
And, there is somebody for everybody. Take comfort in that, right?
And usually the people who will love you for you are the people that love them for them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you just attract that, and there's peace in that.
It's true. And when you start attracting people for the wrong you, then you're insecure your whole life, because that they're attracted to that, not actually me. So attract people for the actual you. Well, so what are some of the other B's that you feel we at least have to make mention? But I want people to obviously get your article, the summit.
Yes.
Obviously, let's put the summit up one more time so people get the summit, because you interviewed the experts about all these things, the solutions as well as the problems. So
yeah, for sure. So we already talked about breast implants. Botox illness is another one, even including the non-dysport kind, even including Xeomin, that's just Botox, botulinum toxin. So even that, okay? So there's no like natural forms that are better for you than the other ones. Because Botox has dairy, it has lactose in it, and it also has human albumin, and it has the botulinum toxin. Xeomin just has the botulinum toxin. So for me, I'm like, I'm out on all of them. I don't want any of them. So they say that that's the natural form. They will say, oh, it's organic Botox. And I'm like, get out of here.
You're poisoning a nerve, and regardless,
So it's Botox and other injectables, right? So I say breast implants, Botox, bacterial overgrowth in the mouth is so big, 80%.
We talk a lot about that on the show, yeah.
You cover so much of that. And we had, Jerry Curatola was on my show, and I think it's so big because 60% of Americans at least have one chronic disease now at this point. 70% have like two. So we've got a lot of chronic disease, and a lot of it begins in the mouth, like 70 to 80% of it. So bacterial overgrowth in the mouth, birth control is a huge one, and other bioidenticals or hormones that might not be necessary when you get to the root of why our hormones are off.
I'm helping a client right now that birth control got her very, very, very sick.
Which one, IUD or pills or all of the above?
The pill.
Yeah, the pill is just super toxic, and it makes you think that you're in menopause. So, hey, birth control, brain inflammation and mood imbalances that are band-aided with prescription drugs that cause more addiction, like benzodiazepines. Please, you guys, please I mean, I saw your video that you did, Dr. Pompa, with that really genius 19-year-old, your son's friend on Adderall. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that was that prevalent. What do you say, like 80 or 90% of kids are using it now?
Yes, it's unbelievable.
What?
Yeah.
So that's huge, and that will block anybody's beauty and their immune system. So that's why I say brain inflammation and the mood imbalances that come along with it, or that we're told with prescription drugs. So that's another one. And then beauty toxic products are another one. So that's, your cosmetics, your skincare routine, and anything that you're putting on your body too, like even sexual lubricants too. We talk about that in the summit as well. And then the bully within is number 7, are these thoughts of, I need this to be beautiful, or once I get this, then I'll be lovable, the perfectionism parasite. And then the 8th one is broken beliefs, is, these beliefs that I'm not enough, or I will never heal, or I should know this by now. I should be here in my life at this point now, and I'm not. So I carry this guilt, shame, and fear, all at the root of I'm not enough. So those are the big 8s in women, and those are the biggest beauty blockers.
Yeah. It is absolutely good for people to hear all of those, because how do we get somebody healthy? Ultimately, you have to evaluate all of those things you just said, right?
All of them.
The more violations, the more of those things that are in your life, the more your body's going to struggle to heal itself, to express vitality, and just be you, so.
And I have the visual. And the visual of it is they're bees, they're bars. Those are the prison bars, and we're trapped. If we have those 8 bees around us, the bees are the bars. But when you work with somebody, a practitioner like Pompa, or someone from his team, or me, or someone from my team, you can help break down all of this. It's not, you can't just go fix your body by addressing just your hormones or just addressing your gut. We've got to look at the entire system.
Absolutely.
And when you get there, you can finally fly and free yourself. Fly is first love yourself. You can finally fly from your own prison when you get rid of those bars.
That's awesome. Well, you're a big fan of cyto detox, that's for sure. And
I am.
And also helping others, with true cellular detox, cyto detox as the chemical side of this stuff. We have to get it out of our systems.
We have to, like you say, we have to fix the cell to get well. And we also have to break the spell to get well. And that's the spell of our mind.
I'm writing my new book, and I'm going to have you write a section of it, because
I'd love to.
I always say, I'm an authority where I am. God's gave me victory here to be an authority here, and but you had victory here, and so to me, you're the authority here, because you're right. Fix the cell to get well is something I've coined, but breaking the spell to get well is 100%. Because if we don't change the way we think, if we don't change, this identity problem, then we're going to fall into the next trap. And there's going to always be another trap, isn't there?
Yes. Yes, there's always another trap. If we're not here, it's like, oh my gosh, coronavirus. Oh my gosh, the next thing. Oh my gosh, the next thing. And we are completely imprisoned by what's out there instead of what's happening in here. And this, to me, is the biggest sin of all.
Isn't it so sad, the fear? It's like, the coronavirus. I mean, the experts are saying, look, it's less, of a problem even than the flu, right? It's like, and yet, okay, granted, we understand even the flu, the coronavirus can kill somebody, right? But ultimately, you and I would not be afraid to kiss a person with the coronavirus. We wouldn't care.
Totally.
No one wants to get sick. Nobody, right? It's like, but the fact is that we don't have that fear. Why? Because we have so much respect for our immune system. We know our confidence comes from our immune system, not our government.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, that we can touch people. And once you get this fear, now you look to the government to help me not get sick, right? That's where people are.
That mindset will create more acidosis in your mind and your body than even sometimes some chemicals. And what I want to say one more thing about the immune system. When I ran my labs, and I was the sickest point that I'd ever been, and this was about 3 years ago, and I went, okay, I've got to do something different. There's a marker called secretory IgA, and your allopathic doctor will have no clue what you're talking about. Yeah. This is not something you get through insurance. This is one of the labs that we run, and I found an optimal level of secretory IgA, which is your gold standard immune system marker that says how robust is your immune system able to, coin a toxin or a sensitivity or something as bad and pull it out of the body. Ideal is like 1,200 to 1,500. Mine was a 44. I was operating at 3% of my optimal. No wonder why I was getting so sick. No wonder why I had skin issues. No wonder why I was like so depressed. No wonder why I couldn't sleep that well. I was operating at 3%. So my immune system 3 years ago, if the coronavirus is around, I might've been like, oh my God, because of my beauty toxic choices, I might not have a chance to fight this stuff off. So fear and toxicity can actually be the worst things that attract viruses and keep them around. And
absolutely. Yeah.
if you don't pay attention to that.
Right. And again, these things harbor themselves in areas that are not you, right? Whether it's a breast implant, right? Whether it's another type of implant, it forms biofilms, it protects itself from the immune system there. So once again, we're looking in the wrong places for health. You know, it's like, it's a major premise. You know, you and I have a very different major premise. You know, probably most of the people watching this, we all have a very different major premise than what's out there. Meaning that we believe that God created our bodies with an innate, inborn ability to heal itself. All we can do is remove the interference. But see, the major premise out there is government is going to, you know, solve the problems for us. Yes. And they don't respect the body. They're always looking for that thing that makes them healthy. You know, I mean, Purell does not create health. It's the opposite, actually. True. Your microbiome, right? I mean, you know, everyone's trying to get health from the outside in. Our major premise is it comes from inside out. So
yeah, and it really, it's not just explanting the breast implants. It's not just, you know, removing the source. It's also explanting the bully inside of you.
Yeah, well, that's well said. Well, anyways, I want people to reach out to you. I want people absolutely to get the summit. So we'll put all that information up. So in the show notes, so people can contact you and get the summit as well. So Dan, thank you so much for being here. Great. This is a conversation for the day, and people are going to want to share this one because, you know, you can't throw a stick anywhere without hitting someone with the things we talked about today.
Right.
I'm not telling anyone to throw a stick.
Don't throw sticks.
You know why I said stick? Because isn't the thing like a cat? Isn't it like, you know, something like about throwing a cat? What's the saying there? You can't do something kind of toss it. I don't know. Anyway.
Please don't skin cats or beat a dead horse either. Don't kick horses or like skin. The words that we use are so important. So if you're going to throw anything, throw some vitamin C sticks at people.
Well, if you throw a vitamin stick at someone in a room, you're going to hit someone with a darn implant of some sort. All right, whatever it is. All right, thanks for being here. Great conversation. So
thanks, Dr. Pompa, for having me.
Well, that's it for this week. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. This episode was brought to you by Cyto Detox. Please check it out at buycytonow.com. We'll be back next week and every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We truly appreciate your support. You can always find us at cellularhealing.tv, and please remember to spread the love by liking, subscribing, giving an iTunes review, and sharing the show with anyone you think may benefit from the information heard here. And as always, thanks for listening.